Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final masterclass session in our Foresight and Strategy masterclass series for 2021. This is the final session, and we really appreciate you folks journeying with us in what we have put together over the past 5 sessions, but over 6 weeks since we weren't here last week. And really hope that the session that we put together really catalyzed your thinking and have really got you thinking about your own innovation journey within your organizations. Obviously, understanding that you folks are at different places. Today, we'll be looking at dissemination, and we have a guest with us that's going to be speaking about that. But as per usual, I just wanted to remind you folks that the Way to Play 2021 Plus report, maybe you folks have already read it, already downloaded it, or are currently working your way through it, but we are always saying that the insights that we put together in these sessions are very much layered and augmented by what we've discussed in the Way to Play 2021 Plus report, which has over 175 plus emerging technologies and trends for you folks to check out. So please, if you haven't, check that out. And so, again, as I'm going to say, as the last session, maybe you've had some questions that have been on your mind that you've never had a chance to ask. Today's the final session. Please put the questions in the chat. Please participate in the chat as the last time. Maybe you want to ask something to our guest after he's spoken today. Please feel free to do that. I'll be keeping a keen eye on the chat room, and I'm hoping that you folks are going to have some questions. Also, as per usual, we're going to be sending the slide deck to you after the session later on this week. And in addition to that, we're going to be sending a little bit of a link to a case study that we did, which speaks to this idea of dissemination, which is the Cisco Innovate Everywhere Challenge, where the company Cisco used ITONICS technology and the ITONICS software to sort of create their own dissemination process. And I think after the insights of the session, that case study will really help you folks think critically about what your own dissemination project can look like within your organization. So look forward to that follow-up mail later on this week. And so before we introduce our guest, I just wanted to briefly just run through the insights from the last 4 sessions and just almost jog your memory so that there's a little bit of freshness when our guest comes and speaks about the dissemination piece. If you recall correctly, all those weeks ago, we spoke about environmental scanning, and we had Rachel from Smollen and we had our very own Tassilo from consulting talking about the sense-making activity that is environmental scanning. We spoke about the different elements of environmental scanning, why they play an important part in sort of understanding the greater environment and where the almost where to play element fits in terms of one's innovation journey. And we went through as granular as talking about the benefits of environmental scanning and thinking about how it can benefit your organization. These slides should be ringing a bell to some of you who may have gone through them after the session. We went after that and we spoke about pictures of the future. We spoke about the idea of scenario-based planning, this idea of objective, process, time. How exactly do you think about the different horizons that exist within your planning process, and how exactly you can adapt to whichever scenario comes to light, knowing exactly what your environment looks like. And so this was the second session, and I remember we had Rachel from Smollen as well as Michelle Beal from our Cape Town team speaking about pictures of the future and why the sense-making method of the future is very important to fulfilling one's innovation objectives. Then we spoke about planning and goals. And there we had our Director for Business Development and Strategy, Christopher Robertson, and Rachel came back for the last session there to talk about transparency and consistency within planning and goals. We spoke about the ideas of mission, vision, and purpose. And we spoke about roadmaps and why roadmaps are so important. The idea around demand drivers, which is the trends, and solution drivers, which are the technologies, and how a roadmap that dovetails those two together and uses those two to sort of augment the business offering, but also the strategic objective of an organization are very much key in sort of meeting consumer requirements. In addition to that, in that session, if you folks remember, we also spoke about the technology and how having a single point of truth in a road mapping process is important to getting stakeholders all involved and all on the same page when we talk about road mapping and how exactly we see a future-orientated strategic or innovation journey. Then we spoke about growth boards, and our CEO, Christian Moreau, spoke about the growth board and why the growth board is important as a key part of maybe getting management's commitment, but also taking that commitment and figuring out how you can get different departments within your organization on the same page with regards to whatever the innovation objective is. And we spoke about growth boards as the best practice and what the key elements are, this idea of creating growth missions and using almost like a startup mentality for different units within your business department. So those were the first 4 sessions, and you can see we took like a very different sort of approach within each session regarding foresight and strategy, and we had some fantastic questions from the audience. And so today what we're going to be talking about is dissemination, and in essence there's a key question here that we're trying to answer, and that is, how do I communicate a foresight strategy throughout the organization? And so we hope that at the end of today's session, you'll think critically around how to best communicate your innovation objectives across all stakeholders. Think about how dissemination builds upon the different elements of COFIM that we've spoken about and that I've just outlined now, as well as getting a sense of our own best practice process and how ITONICS specifically has helped clients centralize their innovation activities for better cross-departmental collaboration and information sharing. Because the theory might be great, but maybe some of the practical case studies are better for you to sink your teeth into. And hopefully we can engage a rigorous discussion today with our guest regarding that. And so with no further ado, I want to introduce our guest, Dr. Tobias Meyer. He's one of our senior innovation consultants at ITONICS. And he's the one that's going to be sort of chatting with us through this idea of how do I communicate a foresight strategy throughout the organization. And so I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to hand over to Tobias, and he can introduce himself, and then I'll ask him a few questions about this topic. Over to you, Tobias.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dieter. Thanks for the short introduction. So yeah, maybe a few words about myself. So I'm, as Dieter said, a senior innovation consultant here at ITONICS. With ITONICS now since a little more than 1 year. I have an industrial engineering background, did a PhD and with a little bit of a supply chain management focus, and from methodology side, a lot in foresight and innovation management, and then worked a few years also in supply chain innovation management for Siemens before I joined ITONICS here last year. Yeah, and since then working as a senior innovation consultant. And yeah, really help our clients in as Lita said, in bringing and enabling them to get innovation management going in their organization.
So Tobias, I think my first question is just going to ask you to dig a little bit deeper into that idea of what an innovation consultant does, particularly in a software-centric organization like ITONICS. Could you give us a little bit more detail there?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, innovation consultant at ITONICS, what we do is basically we enable our clients and support our clients in basically developing the capabilities that they need in order to systematically drive innovation management and foresight within their organizations. And how we do that is basically following our COFIM framework that I think was already a few times discussed within the session. So we start with the foresight strategy part, helping them to identify drivers in the industry. And then the second part would be around the organization. So helping them to build the processes, the responsibilities within this framework and within the organization in order to also systematically drive foresight and identify those drivers, prioritize them, and then also derive opportunities and concrete actions out of that. We also help our clients in this third pillar, which is the culture and engagement topic, which I think will be also something that we discuss today a little bit more in detail when it comes to how to communicate innovation management within the organization, how to engage people in participating in the foresight part, but also later in the ideation and maybe also growth and road mapping part. So this is also something where we help our clients in developing the capabilities to do that. And the last part of our COFIM framework is then the growth part, where it's actually all about the ideation when it comes to really to get the insights from the foresight part and derive concrete actions out of that. So concrete ideas, concrete solutions, and in the end, maybe concrete projects and products that are all built on the first three pillars of our Kofun framework. So what we do as consultants, basically together with our software models that help us a lot in building those capabilities, but to also develop like the backbone for these different software modules and help building the processes and responsibilities that our clients and the organization need in order to really holistically build up an innovation management framework. Yeah, that's basically what we do as innovation consultants at Itonics.
So, I mean, we've had discussions in this masterclass about, developing foresight and strategy of the innovation process. Is there anything else that you'd like to add there around how you guide clients in figuring out where to play?
Sure. So yeah, when it comes to the where to play part, we at Itonics are really convinced, as I said, that in order to figuring out where to play and what to look for in your industry, you really need a systematic foresight approach with very clear processes, very clear responsibilities, in order then to identify the right market drivers and maybe also the emerging technologies, as well as then in a later step. So after having this information base, this knowledge base about your industry environment, then you need also to prioritize them, to rate them, and derive innovation opportunities out of them, which are then referenced more to your like specific company and industry context. So these are basically the steps how we guide our clients in figuring out where to play. And the first step obviously is like having really a clear understanding about what to scout for, right? So we often see that the technologies, of course, play a very prominent role, also trends, but also sometimes startups or competitors, which are scouted in the environment of a company. So we guide them in the direction to where to find this information, be it automatically, also through our tools that we have with our signals, AI, and also the other manual processes also in research and scouting, and then guide them along this whole process and this whole foresight journey, and then really helping them in figuring out where to play in this regard. And one really necessary thing, I think, along this journey is, and for doing this in a successful way, is really engaging and integrating the right people along this journey and along this process. So depending on where you are in the foresight process, you need to engage, of course, with maybe different stakeholders who you might want to encourage to share the knowledge. So really integrating them into the process, or who may want to be informed, or also who may need to be informed about the results out of this process. And often this integration of those stakeholders looks like this. We often see that most of our clients integrate an expert group as the first stage for the scouting process, but also we often see that our clients open up especially the first scouting channel to a larger group of people within the company in order to really get the knowledge from all the different parts within the company, who are then not responsible for doing this in a regular basis, but more on an ad hoc basis. So this is something where you really need also to open up the process, or could open up the process and really engage with a larger group of people already at this early stage. And then the next stage, I think this became clear in the first session already, is to have this prioritization phase, right? Where you prioritize, where you rate different topics in order for your context or regarding to your context. And this is often done by an expert group of people. So here the number of people is often reduced, and you do not engage with too many people. But then again, at the next stage, when it comes to communicating the results out of this, what we often see is here that then the radar, which we often use as the tool here after the prioritization, is then often communicated also to the larger group. Also opportunities that are derived out of this are then communicated to the larger group to really engage those people in bringing in concrete solutions, concrete ideas within their context. And So yeah, what you see basically is that foresight is not always only an expert topic, but it's always also necessary to already include a larger group of people into that process at different stages and communicate maybe favorite technologies, opportunities, and strategies at certain points of this process. And this is also really key to for the acceptance. It is important for the acceptance that employees understand the process and are engaged and integrated into this process and the methodology from the beginning, to then also have, as I said later, the engagement during the integration, implementation of concrete actions within the company. So yeah, this may be as a little bit of an addition to what we have already done in this where to play part in the other sessions, and how we guide our clients also from a more stakeholder perspective in figuring out where to play.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Folks, I would encourage you to put any questions that you have for Tobias in the chat as we go along our discussion. So Tobias will be aware that over the past 5 weeks, we've touched on everything from environmental scanning to crafting a picture of the future, to planning and goals, to getting management to commit. Why do you think dissemination is an important piece within this COFIM framework? And in fact, even before that, what is dissemination? So maybe speak about what it is, and then maybe speak about why it matters within this COFIM framework.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, what is dissemination in the end? So the basic concept around dissemination is really to find strategies actually to democratize the innovation process, right? So as I said, you would like to include different stakeholders at different stages of your innovation process for different reasons. At Itonics, we often call this like developing the capabilities to empower everybody to innovate. So key considerations around dissemination is how to communicate innovation strategies and targets, making sure that all stakeholders in the end buy in and also commit to the innovation roadmap after their participation in the innovation strategy. And this requires management's allowance, or better said, invitation, so that people really feel free to share and disseminate also the knowledge. So it is key to remember that the innovation process is a collaborative process, as I said, that requires also a company-wide effort to in the end develop also actionable insights from the whole first where to play and environmental scanning and scenario scenario planning process. So this is really key here. So in short, what is dissemination? In the end, dissemination can help organizations on the one hand to strategically align, of course. So ensuring that the organization's structure, that the resources and culture also support its strategy. Second point is definitely to facilitate the knowledge transfer. So sharing internal expertise and also innovation intelligence. The third point, catalyze commitment. I think it's very, very important here. So secure the buy-in, as I said, and the engagement across the organization, and finally, as I said, democratize innovation. So really try to empower everyone to innovate, try to engage them into this process, give them the capabilities, and enable them really to make their own contribution to this foresight and innovation management process.
So then what do you think, So what do you think are the key points to consider for organizations when they do disseminate information on their innovation objectives?
Yeah, so for this point that I just mentioned, I think one very important thing is that you as a company develop like a common language, right? So a language always connects to some degree also in the company. So make sure that when you communicate an innovation strategy, or also the maybe highlighted technologies that you have identified in your market, that you do this communication in a simple language that people in all departments can understand. In addition to this, a successful dissemination process requires also key parameters that all stakeholders are made aware of, which could be, for example, a description of a technology or an opportunity. So doing this in a very standard, concise way is here also very important. And there has been, or there are a few examples. Of course, we also have them in our software, how we normally describe a technology or an opportunity, and then also how we would communicate those to a larger group of people. Another example is from the Hallmark Catechism, which has like key questions that management and innovation teams need to have answers to before disseminating the innovation focus areas or introducing maybe new trends or emerging technologies to a larger group of people. Going through these questions that I've here is on the one hand, you obviously have to describe what are you trying to do with this topic, right? It's also important to outline how this is done today, and also outline what are the limits of the current practice. So where do we need maybe this improvement? Where are our current limits, and how can we improve this through this new trend or technology, or where's the market need? Also stating like who cares? So if you are successful, what difference will it make in the end? Also stating what are the risks? How much will it cost? Of course, costs are always a very important topic also in innovation management. Stating how long it will take. This is also one very important topic here, that you have a clear timeline, especially when it comes to foresight, also putting here a clear timeline between topics that will come in the next years. And then also what are the midterm and final exams to check for success. So also including maybe success metrics that speak to your business, that speak to your strategy that you target for. So also outlining this when communicating new topics, new technologies, opportunities is very important at this stage. When we at Itonics speak about dissemination, we basically consider key variables that every dissemination process must have, and these are 3 different ones that we also outline in our COFIN framework, which are first accuracy, which basically refers to the clarity of the innovation objectives, activities, and timelines, and the assurance that stakeholders receive the right information at the right stage of this innovation process. The second point is specificity, which basically refers to the degree of detail contained within the strategic goals and the control objectives by which they are measured. So metrics are here at this point also very, very important. Specificity should also allow for easily accessible and digestible information in the end. And then the third point is really reliability, and this of course refers to the integrity of the information made available to stakeholders, which are in the best case backed by really credible data, and basically disseminated through a trusted and established communication structure. So are we looking at metrics that are compatible with our business model? All these questions are very important at this point when it comes to reliability. So this is all, I think, in this topic of building a common language when communicating new topics. And then, of course, the second very important topic when you communicate those topics and foster strategies is, of course, how you do it and what support also from a tool side. With our tool, we of course have a very, very strong knowledge base and single point of truth that really can help empower a larger group of people to innovate, right? So we have a very, with this tool, we have a very, very holistic view of all the topics that are going on. We have a view of the prioritization that maybe an expert group took, and can communicate this through different visualization options that we have with the radar, that we have with the roadmap, also to a larger group of people. We also have seen and also supported clients in doing this in different ways through, for example, newsletters that we can send out from our enterprise software, so giving a regular update about the newest technologies maybe that you are currently tracking. We have seen podcasts a lot of times. We've seen reports, white papers about this topic. So there are obviously different options how to communicate. And I think that BASE is really a platform that combines all those topics and builds a single point of truth at this point is really key here, also for the topic of dissemination.
Okay, thank you. That's crystal clear. I think you've almost set a very clear theoretical framework as to what dissemination is and how it's important for organizations, as well as our methodology at Itonics. Could we get a little bit more practical maybe for a second, and you chat to us through some examples of how clients at Itonics have undergone successful dissemination processes under your watch? And yeah, just the different types of dissemination processes that you've seen in your time at Itonics.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I'll outline a few examples of like, especially different ways and also different like focus groups and targets behind these dissemination strategies that were taken here by our clients. So one is from an insurance company, quite a large insurance company in Europe, who struggled a little bit with the awareness of this foresight topic within the company. And also didn't have like the large engagement of the people, of the employees for this topic. And I said it before, it's really important to really get all those people on board in order really later to also disseminate the solutions into the company, right? And get acceptance for it. So the goal was really to create this awareness, identify also innovators within the company. So those people that maybe first start with using those new topics, with integrating them into their processes. So what we did here, we started with a report basically. So a printed report that was also sent out to the complete company. And this was mainly focused on emerging technologies. So we communicated key emerging technologies through this company-wide report. It was basically a selection of 6 core technologies. So we limited really to the most important ones. Gave an explanation about these technologies, so a little bit more detailed description. Provided also a rating, saying, okay, how important is this topic for our business, for our industry. Provided different use cases where we already are working on in regard to this technology within the company, and then also like future opportunities. Where could this lead us to? Where could we maybe dive into the future, and how will our company benefit from these technologies? And then we also provided a direct link to our platform with further details where the employees could dive deeper into these topics and those technologies, which in the end led to much further engagement and really more commitment, also for the decisions that were driven from these departments that focus on those technology developments. This may be one example. Another one is starting with the radar. Of course, I think most of our clients use the radar within the tool also for communicating the results of this foresight process. And we have one larger research organization from the Middle East who also use this radar as a public, so to say, tool to communicate what they are working on and get a little bit of feedback from also external groups. So they published the radar and the main topics they are focusing on openly on the website with a prioritization of technologies, of trends. So their goal was a little bit to help, as I said, or to get this inspiration from different external users and get their view on the topics that they publish on the report, and also inspire them in the end for those topics and for those technologies. So which would be like more an openly dissemination process that we had here. Of course, we also have a few clients, as I said before, that use our roadmap tool when it comes to more getting the internal alignment, maybe about technologies. So we often see this in technology management, also in combination with the products, to have really one clear and one guided direction for those technologies and the development of those technologies within the company. So yeah, these are just maybe a few examples of how we did this dissemination communication of new topics within different companies.
Excellent. So I'm just gonna dive into a quick question that I've been asked here, where someone's saying, if Tobias is advocating that stakeholders should be involved at every point of the innovation journey, who are the particular players who should be involved within this innovation journey? Differently put, what are the type of job titles that should be on that invite list when we're having a discussion around dissemination or looking at key emerging trends and technologies, or who are the people that should be involved? And if you can maybe speak in terms of job titles within that innovation process.
Yeah, very good question. So I wouldn't say that you really need to involve everyone at every stage of this process. I think there are different stages in the innovation and foresight process where you could make use of a larger group of people and their knowledge. And I think this is on the one hand, right at the beginning, so having maybe a larger group of people that can bring in signals, how we often call it. So maybe new topics that they came across in their daily work and probably weren't or not yet were checked maybe in the platform. So within this knowledge base, they could have the possibility to also bring in this knowledge and make others aware of these new topics. When it comes then to the next steps in like deriving concrete technologies, deriving maybe also opportunities out of this and getting a rating, I think this is more a topic for experts. So this should be, I think, more limited. But then after this, we reach a stage where we would like to, on the one hand, create this awareness, create the engagement for these topics and acceptance for these topics. And I think that this can surely be communicated to everyone in the company. So I think that there doesn't need to be doesn't have to be made any selection. I think if you have an opportunity that you derived out of this process that is quite specific for maybe a certain context within your company, for a certain process, maybe for a certain business unit, then of course you target this topic more to these people and maybe get feedback from them or ask them to provide concrete solutions and concrete ideas to solve this. But in the end, I think I wouldn't make any difference in like job level when it comes to this innovation journey or this whole innovation process and integrating these people.
Okay, that makes sense. So then I think a final question on my side would be, someone might be listening to this and listening to the case studies that you've presented and thinking, okay, that's exciting, and here are the different ways of disseminating information, and I may be taking notes as to how to do it in my company. But other people might be thinking, what's next? You know, what can and should organizations do after the successful dissemination process? Do you have any insights or thoughts on that?
So we are currently here in the where to play part, right? So it's all about the building like the first getting a first focus on the topics that will be necessary to address in the future. So having like different market trends, having different technologies that are pushed into the market or in the industry, and then on the other side, this market side that's demanding maybe changes. So we have prioritized that, and we have maybe created out of this a few opportunities where we would like to innovate in, right? So for us, an opportunity is not a direct product or business model or project out of this process. It's more like a topical area where a company would like preferably innovate in. So at this stage, communicating those technologies that you see as relevant, the trends that you see relevant, and also the opportunities that you see relevant, this is really where you then communicate also those topics and then build on the engagement that you created about through this acceptance, and ask really these people for concrete actions, for concrete ideas, concrete solutions for these opportunities, for these trends that you have prioritized in the process. So this is really the next step. You obviously want to target this a little bit to certain people, as I said. Maybe you have an opportunity in a very specific area and want to include topical experts, topic experts that are really focused on that already, and ask them for concrete solutions within their context. So these are basically the next steps after you have created this engagement through communicating those topics from the where to play part, when it then comes more to the next, as we call it, how to execute and how to win parts within the whole holistic innovation management framework.
Fantastic. I don't see any questions in the chat. And so I was wondering, would you be able to show us anything in terms of the product or the software that sort of speaks to this idea of dissemination briefly, just to sort of layer the capabilities within the software?
The radar basically is our tool to really communicate the topics that we see as most relevant, the technologies that we may see as most relevant, and the trends that we may see as most relevant, also to a larger group of people. So this can be on the one hand used for really experts to develop or to derive concrete opportunities out of this. But on the other hand, it could also be used as an information for consumers, maybe to look at it and see, okay, which are the topics that we should focus on, maybe also in our area in the future. So the radar is basically the tool to go for us when it comes to communicating those technologies and trends that we would prefer. So yeah, basically, most of you have probably seen the radar in different versions. So we have here our cloud radar on the screen. It's a little bit different from our enterprise radar, but basically the setup is the same. It obviously shows all the technologies or trends in this case that we see as relevant or that we have identified in our industry that we could influence or impact what we do. And then we have different options, of course, to prioritize them through different ratings. And this is obviously what is displayed here. It really good aggregates the topics in different segments, and then also gives this prioritization through these ratings in the end. And this is obviously a great way to communicate what we should focus on. And then also the users have the chance to dive deeper into those different topics within the platform. And then another module that I mentioned earlier is our roadmap module, which will also be a great way to communicate also with a timeline behind that, then obviously also concrete actions. So here's just an example of a strategic planning roadmap, which considers in this case some market developments for the next year. So these can be concrete trends that you observe for a specific topic. You can connect this with different products that you have in your company, and see, okay, how do these trends will affect our products, and what are the concrete actions that we derive out of that? So is there a concrete project? Is there a phase out maybe of a product? So this roadmap module is also really often used as a way to communicating the strategy that was derived out of the foresight and the where to play part in the end. So yeah, giving just a short insight on maybe those two tools that we have in our software for communication and dissemination purposes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tobias. We are more or less at the end of our session. And so I saw that there was a question that came in from Hein. I responded to him that we'll get back to him on that question, but there's not enough time now. But I just wanted to say a special thanks to you, Tobias, for coming in and being our guest for our final masterclass. Thank you to everybody who joined the previous sessions. And as we've been saying for the past 5 weeks, the learning doesn't stop here in the masterclasses. And if you follow Itonics on LinkedIn, follow Itonics on social media, and you're part of our mailing, you'll keep getting notifications of blog posts and different thought leadership and white papers and future reports on this process of innovation. And so thank you to everybody that was part of this masterclass. You're going to get a follow-up mail. And yeah, we really appreciate the time that you've taken over the past 6 weeks to be part of this masterclass process. So cheers to everybody and chat soon.